in my coaching work, and the entire subject matter of my book, The Shame Formula, is shame. And more importantly, I talk a lot about unshaming as a practice. And so I was intending to make this video, but I kind of fell off the bandwagon. The primary motivation for making this video was I wanted to explain the different kind of methodologies that I use in my coaching and how I have come to learning that and practicing that. What problems is it good for, what it's not necessarily good for. So I was talking about that, about the life coach school, the CTFAR method, and blah blah blah. And then I was meaning to go to unshaming, but then I kind of fell off the bandwagon. So why am I choosing to talk about unshaming at this particular point in time? Well, it's related to my Discord server, where people who aren't necessarily well acquainted with the idea of what unshaming is, and perhaps equally importantly, what witnessing is. When people don't know these two things, they don't know what the channel is for. So they start sending messages that are not really related to unshaming or witnessing at all, and then I unfortunately have to delete those messages for the purpose of moderation, and that's not a pleasant experience for anybody. So but the thing is, you don't do that out of malice or ill intent, right? It's just that you don't know what unshaming is. You don't really know what witnessing is, because it's not like a globally wide popular term. It's a very niche kind of a coaching term, and I wanted to dedicate this video to explaining what I mean by unshaming and witnessing. And in order to do that, we gotta start with what I mean by shame. So the entire methodology of unshaming is largely following the practices of one particular individual. His name is David Bedrick. David is kind of the industry lead, if we can call it an industry. He's basically the thought leader in the perspective of witnessing and unshaming, and he is kind of like the most prominent authority in the area of shame. And so the methodology basically explains it like this. We, as individuals, have intelligence within us. And as we are born and as we bloom into the world, right? We all have equipped a particular set of individual wisdom that's different from anybody else's. My set of individual unique intelligence and wisdom is different from my wife's. It's different from my sister's. We're both from the same parents, but we both have individual expressive gifts. And typically, people think that only positive features are gifts. So, for example, my sister is a very good singer, and I don't just mean in terms of like pop. She is a classic choir singing, right? And she's a very kind of a Renaissance kind of a person. She's also very good at art. She's also very good at playing instruments and very multi-talented. And so I don't have that many of those traits that my sister has. But I'm in different ways, right? I'm a Buddhist. I'm a practicing Buddhist. I surf. My sister doesn't. I'm basically I'm a lot more athletic and active compared to my sister, and you would think that those are the individual gifts and those are the individual kind of like unique whatever, right? But it is a little bit, that kind of thinking predicates this like light and shadow, right? So we have these gifts and we have these fucked up parts about ourselves that we want to throw away. And so that's where shame enters. And so that's why this is largely interchangeable with the shadow work in the therapy or mind kind of a thing. So you may think that I have IBS, right? I always need to look for toilets because I need to shit myself every time I'm out in public. And social anxiety. And well, for me, it was less about social anxiety, but I had misanthropy. I just hated people. And so these things, right? They inconvenience my life. And these things are negative features. I don't want these because these aren't gifts. And therefore, I should not have these traits. And I should throw these parts of me away. And you know what? Some of these traits are easily throwable away. But when these features are deeply tied to your personhood, in other terms, if it's deeply related to your karma, it's very difficult to set yourself apart from these traits because they are related to innate parts of you that are within you. So, my IBS is, suppose, now for like exemplar purposes, suppose it's because of my family history, because of my lineage, right? We all have weak stomachs. And so whenever my dad would drink something cold, he would need to go to the toilet immediately because, Koreans have a lot of sensitivity in the vagus nerve related to temperature. Or, I don't know, maybe my mom is not lactose intolerant. She's not, I'm not. But, these things are different, right? And, not different. These things are deeply embedded within us. It's part of our personhood. So, I don't want to have IBS. I don't want to be lactose intolerant, but I am. I don't want to be allergic to things, but I am, right? And so the more of these things we have, and the more we think, I should not have these things. I should be able to. The word should is the telltale sign of shame. And so, this is where unshaming comes in. Unshaming is basically, hey, you know what? These things, it seems negative, but it is a part of your unique intelligence. And the unique intelligence is trying to teach you something because you are so disconnected from yourself. Because you're trying so hard to run away from yourself. And so this discomfort, this negative experience, is trying to get you to come back to the core of you. What it means to be you. Well, not what it means to be socially appropriate. Not what it means to be politically correct. Not what it means to be right or accepted somewhere. No, what it means to be you. Because your life is yours. What is it like to be you? Positive and negative, depending on however you view it. And that is the unshaming perspective, and that is the unshaming angle. And now, how does this really relate to witnessing? And what is witnessing? Witnessing is basically looking at something and seeing it, right? But suppose I'm a kid and I was excited, and then I was running, and then I fell, and then I skinned my knee, and then I'm hurting, right? And I'm hurting, and it hurts, it's bleeding, and I'm crying. And then I cause a scene, and some people come by and say, "You're a man, you're a boy, you gotta toughen up. Boys can't cry. Boys can't cry over these silly things. Just brush yourself up and stand up and get walking again." So, here I am expressing my hurt because something happened to me, an injury happened to me. And I am expressing, hey, this thing that happened to me, it really hurts. And it is met with, that's your fault. You are careless. And so now I'm faced with, I'm just saying this hurts. because this injury has happened to me. But I didn't really do anything wrong. I just happened to fall. And people do fall. And there's this perspective of, no, you should have been more careful. What the fuck are you doing? You shouldn't be crying. You're a guy. And now, when our personalities are forming, we have a tendency to listen to other people because other grown-ups tend to be authority figures and they are exemplary figures telling us what's right and wrong. Or, even if you are an adult, if you have a diminished connection to yourself and you don't really trust yourself to make the right decisions for yourself, you don't trust yourself to look out for yourself, you are going to look at other people's opinions of you and make that your guiding light. But the problem happens when that witnessing of you, when the witnessing of the experiences that you are having is not compassionate to what you are actually going through. So this is why witnessing is and shame is really related to societal problems as well, right? So black people in America, when met with police brutality, they're tired of these things, right? And then comes a compassionate witness of allies, right? And Black Lives Matter and things like that. And then on the other hand, there's a dominant generation after generation voice of, oh, crime rates are always high in black neighborhoods and blah 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 blah, and all that like typical narrative around racism, right? And so other things like sexism, oh, females, blah 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 blah, and gender issues, oh, gays, blah 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 blah. And when the newer generation and or people who are experiencing these things for the first time, and when they are experiencing systemic injustices and systemic problems, and the uncompassionate witnesses, right, the shaming witnesses, turn that into your fault and my fault, that's when we become participants. We become a shaming witness to ourselves. We internalize that shaming witness and then we recreate it inside of ourselves. And so this is why it's so important in the beginning part of your healing journey to have compassionate witnesses to the experiences that you are having in life. And this is why in my Discord server I encourage you to not make comments on other people's messages on witnessing. So in my Discord server there's an unshaming channel and a witnessing channel. Witnessing channel is for you to come and place your heart out. Tell us the experiences that you are going through when things are difficult, right? How you are trying to get through something, but then you are met with this obstacle. How you are going about your day and then you met this injury. And in there, we don't say, oh, have you tried this? Oh, you should think blah, blah, blah. Even I don't do that in the witnessing channel because it's not the place to be doing that. Witnessing as an act is meant to reinforce your experience. When I skinned my knee because I fell and I hurt, I want to be able to say, oh man, I don't care if I'm making a scene right now because I'm really hurt. And it's important for me to recognize when I am hurt because it allows me to set boundaries for myself, right? It allows me to not, it allows me to think about, hey, like, why did I rush so much? What caused this fall? And in this really hurting experience. How am I expressing this? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Am I sad because my body hurts so much? So these are the inner explorations that happen as a side effect of compassionate witnessing. And so that is witnessing. And the unshaming is when you have a negative habit that you want to reevaluate. When you have this trait that you want to not stop seeing in a negative light. That's when you come to the unshaming channel and ask, hey, I have this problem with XYZ, and in the past I've been trying to deal with it in the way of I want to fix this. But I'm curious about what it's really saying. I'm curious about what this problem is actually saying about me. And I'm curious about what this problem is encouraging me to look at inside of my life. And so that's what the general direction of unshaming is, and what the purpose of the unshaming channel is. So now I've done a proper job of explaining what witnessing and unshaming is, and I hope this helps. And let me know. Oh, please check out if you're interested in unshaming. Please check out David Bedrick's work. I do this work because I'm a student of his, and you can check out his Instagram and Facebook. He has a lot of education. He has a lot of affordable and free education around unshaming, and I think this work is important. So everyone should be able to access it. And if you want to experience it with my community, hop onto my Discord server. All right, see you in the next video.